Hey guys, this is the last video for Unit 3. This is Lesson 4C. So for A was a review of slopes in general and lines in general. For B was talking just about parallel lines and the slopes of parallel lines. For C is only talking about perpendicular lines and the slopes of perpendicular lines. So perpendicular, remember, means it crosses, the two lines touch each other at exactly 90 degrees. So parallel lines never cross. Perpendicular lines cross at exactly 90 degrees. So let's look at this first line. Let's compare two lines that are perpendicular. I'm going to look at the line y equals negative 2x. So my slope is negative 2 because that's what's in the M spot. There's nothing in the B spot, so we put a 0, right? If there's no number, there's no value, that's a 0. And then we look at our graph. So I'm going through the point 0. Well, if I was a little bit of a better artist, it'd be a better drawing, but it should go through the point 0. And then my line, I go up 2 and then left 1 because it's a negative, right? So it's the same as saying negative 2 over. So I added the 1 underneath to show you that it's the same as negative 2 over 1 or 2 over negative 1. It doesn't matter. So I went up 2 and I went left 1 because of the negative sign. Now I'm going to look at this next line. So I have y equals 1/2 x. So 1/2 is in my M spot, so that's my slope, 1/2. And my B is still 0 because there's nothing in that spot. And now I'm going to look at this graph. Oh, does that look like they intersect at 90 degrees? It does, because they do intersect at 90 degrees. The way the slopes work on a perpendicular slope is you flip it and then you change the sign. So I originally had negative 2 over 1. So I put the 1 on the top and the 2 on the bottom. You guys should remember this from algebra, by the way. And then I take the negative sign away, or I put a negative sign on. If it's already negative, I make it positive. If it's positive, I make it negative. Okay? So these lines are perpendicular. They cross at a 90-degree angle. That is the definition of perpendicular lines. What do you notice about the slope? They're negative reciprocals of each other. That's the math term for it. You flip them, and then you change the sign. That's a negative reciprocal. Okay? Therefore, lines that have the negative reciprocal slopes are perpendicular. Okay? So what you're going to do now is you're going to do these problems, and you're going to write the perpendicular slope. Okay? So now let's look at an example. So I'm looking at line I, which is this line going up. So it's starting down in the left corner and going up. And that one has a slope of 2 over 1. And I count from, they even put the points on the line for me. Thank you. So I go up 1, 2, and then I go right 1. So it's a positive 2 up and a positive 1 because it's to the right. The slope of J has a slope of negative 1/2. I go up 1 over 2. Right? Up 1 over 2. Are these perpendicular lines? Yes, because my slope started off as 2 over 1. I flipped it, and then I made it negative. So that's a negative reciprocal. And then I'm going to calculate the equation. I don't have to do any math in Desmos. I just look. My slope is 2 over 1, and it's crossing the y-axis here at 1, 2, 3, 4, at 5. So my slope for this, or my equation for this one, is y equals 2x plus 5. Okay. The equation of line J is going to have a different slope, right? It has a slope of negative 1/2 x. I have to take the negative reciprocal, and then my y-intercept actually turns out to be the same, which is kind of different. That doesn't have to be true. They can have different y-intercepts, but in this case, they're the same. So now I want you to do example 10 on your notes. Okay. So now looking at the next example, what's the equation of a line that passes through 5, negative 1, and is perpendicular to y equals 6x minus 1? This is exactly like what you did with parallel slopes, right? Or parallel equations. The first thing you're going to do is figure out what your slope is. Well, if it's 6, right, m equals 6 on this one, my perpendicular slope, I'm going to take 6 over 1. I flip it, so I get 1 over 6, and then I make it negative. So the slope of a perpendicular line is going to be negative 1 over 6. So now I know y equals negative 1/6 x plus b. That's too many variables, so just like I did with parallel slopes, I'm going to substitute my x and y values in, right? So I put negative 1 in for y, I put 5 in for x, and now I solve for b in Desmos. When I do this, Notice I don't get an answer if I use the letter B. I need to change that to an X. Oh, now I get an answer. It's, oh, negative 0.167. That's kind of annoying. Let's see what happens. Negative 0.167. I hit the fraction bar. That's not good. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go like this. Just keep hitting sixes. It's going to look like I broke it. I didn't break it. There we go. Negative 1/6. Okay? So that's what you're going to do for figuring out what your equation is. So I know my slope, I plugged in my numbers, I went to Desmos, and I solved for B, and I got that B is negative 1/6. If you want to put the decimal in, you can. It's just prettier when you use the fraction. So my answer is y equals negative 1/6 x minus 1/6. It seems like a lot of work, but really it's not. I mean, that took us 30 seconds to do, and if you know how to use Desmos to solve it, and you just put in the decimal, it's 30 seconds of work. That's it, to figure out your equation. Not a big deal. So what I want you guys to do now is do that last example on your notes. Then you're going to go and do a pair deck practice on parallel and perpendicular lines. And then you're going to do the mastery check, and then you're done with the unit. We have to do the unit review and the test. We did not put a project in with this unit. So there's no opportunity for extra credit this time. Sorry, guys. But you guys can get all this done, and we're all good to go. Ask us if you need help. You know that.